This Achilles heel for decades because I avoided it. I thought it wasn't that important. It was not as powerful as other health strategies. And so I avoided this for over two, maybe even almost 3 decades in my life. And I'm a little bit ashamed of it because I didn't know what I didn't know. In fact, that was the cool thing about this event that my wife and I attended. It was specifically on relationships. And we've been together over 28 years and we're about to celebrate our 28-year wedding anniversary coming up. In fact, we did a vow ceremony where we both rewrote our vows and we shared those with one another, and it was so powerful and moving. And that event, the relationship event, we thought we knew a lot about relationships. I mean, we've been together going strong the last decade. I mean, amazing how much more powerful and connected we have been recently than ever. And we're coming up on 30 years, and we learned things that we wish we would have known from day one. And that's kind of what I'm going to share with you in this podcast is things that I wish I knew several decades ago that have been game changers for me, because this is literally the most powerful performance enhancer that I'm going to share with you today. So, performance, longevity, getting your energy up. This one thing will do more than almost any other thing I'm aware of. And it's easy, it's free, it's available, and you can do it each and every day. And so, we're going to talk about my favorite recent topic in the last decade, which is sleep and how to make it your superpower. And I'm going to share with you 7 sleep secrets that you weren't aware of. 7 things that can literally rewire your hormones, your brain, your metabolism as quickly as overnight, like legit. And as we do this, we're going to go on a little bit of a journey, not just into your night, but literally into the next decade or two or three or four or five. Like I'm planning to live another 5 more decades into your health and in your life. Because here's the truth: you can go just fine on your merry way, not have any significant downsides typically for skipping breakfast. You can skip breakfast, no problem. You can skip lunch too, and even dinner. Like you're not going to starve to death. You can skip a few meals. You can skip a workout and may not notice any immediate changes. But here's one thing you just can't skip, and that's your sleep. Like literally, you'll be limping on, barely making it through if you skip your sleep. And you don't do it long enough or quality enough, and you notice that immediately, which you don't necessarily notice if you skip a meal or if you skip a workout. But your body needs sleep. It is literally a need. It's not optional. It's not. And it's your most powerful performance enhancer. Think of it as a nightly reset for everything, all your major body systems, right? Your hormones, your immunity, your metabolism, even your brain's housekeeping, if you will, the cleanup crew that comes around and gets out those dangerous buildups of tau and amyloid and toxins that occur during the day, that actually gets swept away at night. And your brain literally has the housekeeping done if you're sleeping and if you're sleeping effectively. And I like to share with you something that Matthew Walker, he's out of Stanford, probably the most well-known and influential and smart sleep doctor I've ever met or had the privilege to hear from. Here's what he says about sleep. Matthew Walker says, quote, "Sleep is the Swiss Army knife of health. Every system improves when you get enough of it." So here's the deal. From a functional medicine lens, or sort of an integrative medicine, whole body, holistic view, which I use, sleep is literally where your stress center, that loop, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, it resets, right? Your autonomic nervous system shifts into what's the rest and digest and repair mode. Your detox pathways are firing up. That brain glymphatic system I alluded to just a moment ago gets fired up, and it cleanses and sweeps and cleans your brain, gets rid of all those toxins. So there was a 2024 meta-analysis. So that takes all the best data, combines it, and this was in the Lancet, like literally one of the best medical journals in the world. And it stated that individuals averaging 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep had over 40% lower risk of cognitive decline compared to those sleeping less than 6 hours. Like, this is legit. You can't make this stuff up. I used to believe before I knew and before I knew the data and before I had really tapped into the potential of sleep, I used to think 6 hours a night was perfectly adequate because I considered myself a short sleeper, that I didn't need that. And what my wife would tell you is that after living with me for 2 decades and not really sleeping well, we got married just before medical school. And then after those 4 years, I had another 4 years of residency and then a really high power, super busy job, and then two and then three jobs. And so the first 2 decades of our marriage, maybe a little bit, yeah, I would say a solid 2 decades, she had to deal with me not sleeping a lot. And maybe it didn't come through right away, but she noticed I was not only a little bit cranky, maybe I wasn't as kind and nice as I usually am. I'm very optimistic, kind of happy-go-lucky, kind of even keel, mellow Hawaiian vibes typically. But if I'm not sleeping, that all can change, and that can change pretty quickly. So here's the deal. Sleep is not something that you can just skip. You can't skimp on it. Like legit, if you wait to sleep when you're dead, like I used to say, that famous Cure song from their album. I think it was 413 Dream or something like that back. I don't know. Gosh, has it been 20 years? I don't know. Uh, but you can't wait to sleep when you're dead. And if you do, you'll actually die sooner. So let me share with you quickly as we get into the 7 things that you didn't know about sleep that are so powerful. I'm going to get into that, but let me just share with you a client that I worked with. We'll just call her Sarah. She was 38. She was super successful, highly driven, but she was always tired. Like she was given labels. So she had chronic fatigue syndrome and she had fibromyalgia. She'd given, by different providers, all these different labels, and she was believing that. And here's the real story. She was only sleeping 5, 6 hours a night. So not surprisingly, she was real groggy by the afternoon. She was missing her workouts. She had borderline type 2 diabetes, but we knew this because we checked a fasting insulin, and hers was 10. It should be like 5 or less. Actually, the first time we checked it, it was 14. Quickly, we got it down to 10, and then we got it less than 5 just over a couple of months' time. But she was literally not sleeping more than 5, 6 hours a night. She tried to sleep, a little longer, but she she wasn't gonna do all the things that we're gonna talk about here because she just wasn't aware of it. She wasn't aware of it. And so once we kind of flipped in her mind the power of what sleep could do for her, we I mean, she was like, I'm willing to do anything. I got to get my energy up. I got so much going on. She just didn't think that she could be more productive than she already was because she didn't think there was enough hours in the day. And that's kind of what I struggled with decades ago. I thought, wow, every hour I'm sleeping, I'm missing an hour from learning something, from doing something in the hospital, from helping somebody in need. And the reality was that those hours that I was skipping were translating into more than that equivalent time of non-productivity or less productivity, less mental acuity, sharpness, aware, focus, where I wasn't able to really do the things that I really wanted to do because I was like her. I was tired every afternoon. I mean, ask my wife. It's like embarrassing to say, but I literally fell asleep eating dinner. Like there was a time, like I kid you not, like this. The crazy thing, this was before we even had kids. I literally fell asleep one time. I was in medical school in San Diego and we were eating spaghetti and I literally did a face plant in my spaghetti, like boom, red sauce on my face. It woke me up, obviously, once I hit the hit the plate full of spaghetti. And it was something that I'll laugh about to this day. Like it was a wake-up call to me because I wasn't prioritizing sleep. And so once we kind of got Sarah to take these steps, she was doing just a couple of super simple things. We got her out. She started to walk in the morning for a couple of minutes, get that first light. We prioritized 7 hours to start with because that was a full hour more than she was getting. And then we worked up to 7.5 hours. We did that slowly and we did it in the methodical way, the sort of 3, 2, 1, 0 approach, which we'll talk about here on this podcast. And with that, her fasting insulin dropped and did so quite quickly. But not only that, her energy levels went through the roof, her mood night and day, like she was feeling down and depressed and getting anxious. She's like, oh my gosh, I feel like myself again. And so if you're thinking, gosh, that's me, I'd love to have more energy. Like in the afternoons, I'm kind of dragging. I just feel tired. I don't have that chutzpah that I used to have. Maybe I'm just getting older, and maybe your doctor or provider acknowledged that and said, being 35 is not the same as being 20 or 45 or 50 or later on in your 50s like me is not the same as being 20 or 30. Well, BS. I reject that. That's a bad story, right? It's BS. It's not true. You can achieve that health that you desire, the energy that you deserve. And one of the quickest ways there is what we're going to talk about today in this show is that Sleep is your superpower. So that transformation can start tonight. And so here we go. All right. We're going to talk about what happens when you're asleep. In this section, it's so powerful because when you appreciate why you sleep and how that can help you, you'll want to sleep. I trust me. Like just read Peter Attia's book, Outlived, and he does a whole lengthy chapter at least on this topic. And he basically says one of the quickest ways to reduce your risk of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and the cognitive decline and dementias that are out there that are rapidly on the rise. In fact, we're even calling it type 3 diabetes because it's so stinking prevalent. One of the quickest ways to get out of that cycle is to get appropriate, effective, and quality sleep. Literally upgrade your brain each and every night while you sleep. So if we're talking about brain, like brain health is crucial, it's critical. And for that, you got to have what we, have shared about in other podcasts when we've talked about energy, we talked about mitochondria, right? Those are the powerhouses of the cell that make up the energy. We've got to talk about blood flow. Blood flow is crucial, critical, and this cool topic called neuroplasticity, which is your body's ability innately in that nervous system, including your brain, your spinal cord, your nerves, allowing it not only to heal, but to make new connections. That's how you can learn things even as you're getting older. You can learn a new language, you can learn a new musical instrument, you can learn a new total body exercise. Like for me, just a couple of years ago, when I was turning 50, I learned how to ski, downhill ski. I'd never downhill ski before. Like decades and decades of snowboarding because I'm a surfer, I'm very, very good at that, high level in the snowboarding category. But skiing, I just never felt the need to really learn. I'm like, why? I'm having so much fun snowboarding. But I wanted to because I have a couple of young daughters who are skiers and they love to ski with their dad and their mom. And so we made kind of a little ski date. We ski once a week together, always with the girls, and I ski too. I'm not riding my snowboard. I used to ride my snowboard when we'd have our ski day because I just didn't really know how to ski. Now I can ski with them side by side, shoulder to shoulder. It's been a total game changer. And I learned that as I was approaching 50. I'd never really even tried downhill skiing. I did a little bit of cross country for exercise and just kind of to mobilize and things like that, but I never really did downhill skiing. And I learned that, at approaching 50, I learned other sort of board riding techniques. There's this thing called the ripstick that I used to just scare me because I'm like, oh my gosh, I fall on that thing, I'm gonna break an arm, a wrist, a shoulder. Like I can't afford the injury. Of course, I geared up head to toe pads. My kids will tell you I look kind of like the marshmallow man when I go skiing, but I'm doing all the tricks. I'm doing the big jumps and the rails and things. And when I got on this ripstick thing that you kind of wiggle on the cement, on the asphalt or whatever, I wore head to toe pads and I learned how to do this. And I was fearful of it because I didn't want to break a bone in my 50s. Like that's could be devastating. It's not like a quick couple of week turnaround. Like it may be 6 months. And trust me, I know. But you can learn new things. You can learn new languages. I I got the opportunity to go to Italy this summer with my wife for a few days, and it reminded me of how I need to review and refresh that language because I learned a little bit 20 years ago, and I was so fascinated by it. And we haven't been back to Italy enough times. I think that was the third time in my life, and it really got me going. Like I want to get that language down. It's such a beautiful language, and so we're going to go again this year. In fact, we're going to take a group. Maybe some of you. My wife has a mastermind just she's starting enrollment for that. And one of the trips we're going to take as a mastermind is to Italy. It's going to be amazing. And so my goal is to have my Italian even more mastered by that point in time. And so to be able to have that ability, that neuroplasticity to create new connections, which you can totally do, sleep is key and critical for that. And to do that, first you got to kind of clean house, right? Every night you got to flush the toxins. We talked about that briefly in the intro, the glymphatic system. It's literally the nightly housekeeping for your brain. It flushes those toxins at night. And this is brand new. We didn't know this. When I went to medical school, they didn't even really know why we had to sleep. And this was in the early, I went to medical school in the 90s, the late 90s. But in the early 2000s, I think around 2006 or so, this was actually discovered on the East Coast, this whole concept of the brain glymphatic system, which is how the brain sort of washes and cleanses itself of the toxins each and every night. And recently there was a study just in 2025 in Nature, which is like premier medical, scientific journal of the world. And it showed that if you're sleeping less than 6 hours a night, that your brain is literally shrinking. In fact, that area called the hippocampus, which is responsible for your memories, that area is the area that's affected most by Alzheimer's and then dementias because you're getting forgetful, right? That hippocampal area is actually shrinking if you're not sleeping. So, so key, so critical. You got to get your sleep. You cannot skip your sleep. And so I'll share with you. I worked with a guy. We'll just call him Jason, um, and he was a tech guy, like 40 mid 40s, I think about 45 years old. And when we first started working with him, we were looking into all this, and he said, "Doc, here's my deal, man. I just feel like I'm in a fog. Like I'll go to meetings and I'll meet people. I can't remember their names. I used to always remember names. And I just feel a little bit slower and not as sharp as I used to be. And I'm like, dude, well, what's going on? Tell me about your nutrition, your workouts, your sleep. Like, tell me about your sleep. Like, what's going on with your sleep? I always ask about sleep. In fact, we may spend quite a bit of time focusing on sleep. And he's like, dude, I 5 hours is like my average, and it's not always regular. Like some nights I'll get a little more, some nights I could even get less. I don't always go to bed at the same time. And I'm like, all right, dude, we got to work on this. So critical. And one of the things that was going on is, he'd go out with friends, his tech friends and stuff at night, and they'd drink. He'd drink most nights, like almost like probably 5 out of 7 nights a week. And he didn't know that that was affecting his sleep. He thought it would help him sleep better, which a lot of people have the mistaken, thought and perception because it makes them a little tired. They might fall asleep, but man, it fragments your sleep like crazy. You can't get into deep sleep. Like alcohol will literally wreck your sleep. Also, it shrinks your brain, but it wrecks your sleep. And so we got him off slowly of the alcohol. We added magnesium. My favorite magnesium, magnesium 3 and 8. And we can talk about that more if you'd like. And feel free to message me on Instagram, Dr. Thomas Hemingway, or jump on over to their website, thomashemingway.com. Send me a message if you want to learn more about this, about exact details. But we got him on some simple supplements, which included magnesium, glycine, and we just had him get into a routine, like having kids. And he actually had two little kids. And he's like, yeah, we do with them a bedtime routine. Every night we have about an hour routine that we do each and every night. They take a bath, they get kind of chill and mellow. We read some books, they ask questions, we sing songs, say a prayer. Like they were doing this ritual that's about an hour long. And I said, well, what do you do for yourself when it's time for you and your wife to get ready to go to bed? What do you guys do? We're usually finishing up our day's work. We're on the computer doing emails. We're sitting on the couch together. We got something on in the background. We're just wrapping up some emails and things. So blue light was a big thing that he was seeing right before the moment his head hit the pillow. And so we knocked that out, right? And when he was just like 8 weeks in, like just about 2 months. And he was getting now about 7 hours of sleep. He was on the magnesium and glycine. He made a routine just like he already had with his kids. And legit, his energy, he's like, now I wake up in the morning and I'm clear. I'm sharp. I feel like I can sleep again. Like he was a new person. He told me, I'm kind of, he's a little sheepish about it. He said, my wife actually told me I'm much nicer. Like, I didn't know I was ever mean. And I said, dude, I hear you. I got that same feedback from my wife because when I wasn't sleeping, same thing. I was not my best self. And so he cut his alcohol. He also cut some carbs at night and didn't eat within at least 3 hours of going to bed. And did these simple things and legit, it was a game changer. So make sure you don't underestimate the power of sleep and how it literally will rid your brain of toxins. It'll get you kind of ready to go, restorative and rejuvenating, powerful sleep. And it can be super, super simple. It's the first way to get your brain upgraded into its best self is to just get the 7 to 9 hours in the cot through those simple techniques I just shared. All right. I want to talk about now hormonally, like how the heck does sleep affect your hormones and your metabolism? Like it can literally be an endocrine regulator because you might not realize it, but literally each hour that you miss from your sleep, 7 to 9 hour average, every hour that you miss is punishing your hormones. It's wreaking havoc on your hormonal signals. Like not only does most people have heard that your growth hormone peaks at night, but early in the evening, like somewhere between 10 and midnight. Like you should, if you're getting to bed at midnight every night, you've totally lost that. And that's one of the most rejuvenated hormones that exist. Also, like for dudes, especially for women too, they need this hormone, testosterone. That's what gives you drive and energy. It actually helps with cardiovascular risk profiles and metabolism. Like it's one of the key hormones with metabolism. Your testosterone can literally drop by 15% with as little as 1 hour reduction in your sleep. You know, another thing that gets tweaked is your leptin levels, right? The leptin is that hormone level that's supposed to be able to make sure that you feel satiated and you're not hungry all the time. Well, that level gets messed up if you're not sleeping. And ghrelin, that hunger hormone, that goes berserk, right? Who has ever stayed up super late for an all-nighter, preparing for something, doing a project for work, or maybe you have to work late in the night, do a night shift like me. I have to do that on occasion. I got to do one here about a week from now. And your hunger hormone ghrelin like goes berserk. Like, ever heard of the late night munchies? Well, there's a freaking reason for that. It's not that you're messed up. That's normal. That's your hormones getting a little getting a little feisty at night. The hunger hormone called ghrelin goes up, and that's not good because you shouldn't be eating in the middle of the night, right? Because when you do, it's literally going straight to your tummy, right? Goes straight to fat. Your recovery also suffers. So I wanted to share with you, there was this amazing article just this year in the Journal of American Medical Association in the endocrinology section. They found, the researchers here that found that sleep regularity, in other words, going to bed and waking up at the same time, had one of the most predictable insulin sensitivity improvements more strongly than even diet by itself. Like, I could hardly believe this. I read this and I'm like, what? Like, diet is primordial, it's crucial, it's critical, and it's not something we should forget about, but literally sleep and sleeping that 7 to 9 hours. I shoot for about 8 is kind of my sweet spot, and I'm usually about 7.5 to 8 nowadays. And I was like 5 to 6 before, like my client I told you about. If you shoot for that 7 to 9 hour sweet spot, wherever you fit in that, and you have a very predictable routine, you're going to bed within about 30 minutes of what you normally would from, night to night, like about the same time each and every night, just like your kids. Make yourself have a routine just like you had for your kids, or you do, or you've seen with kids. Like, so critical, key, and important. This JAMA article in endocrinology said that just having that routine and that sleep regularity predicted your insulin sensitivity more strongly than even your diet alone. Like, that is powerful because diet is critical. You cannot avoid your diet, but you also cannot avoid sleep. Sleep is powerful. And so there's another client I worked with. We'll just call him Alex. He was 47 years old. He was training really, really hard. And he was doing one of these mini triathlons, getting ready for that. And he said, look, I'm eating well, I'm training hard, but I just feel kind of flat. Like, I don't have that chutzpah that I used to have. And I said, well, what about your sleep? You're freaking crushing it in your training, in your nutrition, but what about your sleep? And he's like, honestly, I'm getting at best 6 hours a night. Like, it's a little bit inconsistent. Maybe on the weekends I'll sleep a little bit more, but I'm not consistent. I'm not getting out in the morning. I'm not seeing the morning light. I'm not. It's definitely not a consistent bedtime. Like, a couple of nights a week, probably three during the work week. I'm up really late working on projects and things. I'm on my screens until literally my head hits the pillow. And so we said, okay, let's tweak it a little bit. Let's shoot for 7 hours because you're only doing 6 now. We'll shoot for 7. We'll shoot for morning light each and every morning. Get this bedtime consistent. Like, every night you're going to go to bed exactly at this time. And for him, it was 10. 10 was the earliest he could even fathom because he was getting to bed at 12 or 1 every night. And I said, okay, let's just shoot for 10. But no screens after 9, like that last hour, just like we often do with kids, right? We have that ritual. For an hour before bed, no screens. Like, read a book, get into a hot tub, like chill, listen to music, meditate, have gratitude time, like have something non-screen related for that last hour before bed. And within 6 weeks, like, his fasting insulin went way down. His was he was training so hard, and his diet was really, really solid. His was about, I think it was 11 in our first measurement, and just a few weeks later, about 6 weeks later, it was down to 5. And all he did was have a consistent bedtime. That was it. Consistent bedtime. Turn those screens off 1 hour before night. And also, what happened is his testosterone got better. Like, naturally, we didn't even, he wasn't even on HRT at that point because his levels were decent, but we got them even better just with improving his sleep. And he would tell you that his energy went through the roof. Like, he was able to do that training and be sharp for work. And he was actually like almost, he's like, Doc, I can't even believe it. Like, we changed this one thing. I'm going to bed at the same time every night. I'm getting minimum 7 hours of sleep. I'm turning my screens off 1 hour before bed. Like, legit, that was more powerful than any nutritional, tool, tip, trick that we were working on, or his his weight training um, regimen that we had him on. He was on a 4 day a week, like solid. So he'd do the total body twice a week. He'd do, half one day, half the other, and then flip flop it so that he was getting his total body workouts and we had him working out like solid 4 days a week. He was getting his cardio in and moving every single day. And this one thing, getting his sleep dialed, which was really just a question of the timing, the regularity, the consistency, the routine, his energy surged. So for him, it was that morning light, like 5 to 10 minutes of sunlight, um, outside time. Like he'd first get up within 30 minutes and say, look, get outside, just go for a quick walk around your block, whatever that looks like. Just get outside for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just get exposed to that morning light. And then that last hour before you hit the hay, right? You got to turn off the screens, dim your lights, swap out your bulbs for some red light. I use these just red light headlamps, and I'll read with that, or just try to have the lights dimmed. My wife, well, she kind of laughed when we were building the house, and I'm like, I want literally every room in the house to have a dimmer, like every room. Like if you want to not put a dimmer in, like an accessory closet or something, that's fine. But like literally everything else, hallway lights, all bedroom, bathroom, like every place in our house is on a dimmer switch. And for us, it was worth the money. Like it's just been a game changer for me to have that mellow time before bed. Usually, probably about 2 hours before bed, we kind of dim the lights in our house. We try not to have them on bright, sunny scheduled days. Like if I'm at work, man, it's all volumen, right? The lights are bright because you want to be sharp at night. But at home, when you're chilling, like dial it down, man. Get dimmers on your lights, swap out the bulb, and just aim for that regularity. That regularity was the game changer, as it was here for my client Alex, and it was literally studied this year in JAMA endocrinology, how it was more predictive of your metabolic health than any other single thing. Even the diet alone was just sleep regularity. And fascinating it was for me to see that. That one thing was so powerful. And I've seen it to be powerful in my own life and also in the life of clients, but even the data proves it. So I love that. All right, this is one of my favorite sections to talk about because we're going to talk about heart health. Like, how the heck does heart and immune health have anything to do with sleep? Well, I would say it has everything to do with sleep. In the same way that your brain is sort of refreshing and rejuvenating at night, also your heart is rejuvenating at night. In fact, your heart does more repair work at night than people have any idea of and that are giving them credit for. Like literally during your sleep, your heart rate and your blood pressure are dropping by 10 to 20%. And that dip gives your system a chance to kind of reset and rest. In fact, one of the most predictive things of your longevity is your heart rate at night while you're sleeping. There's some biohackers out there that have given this a new term, the heart rate before sleep, the HRBS, heart rate before sleep. And it's a game changer. Or I think they call it the heart rate before bed because, the BS part, nobody wants something to remember that has a BS in it, or maybe you do, but heart rate before bed, I think they're calling HRBB. And that is predictive of your longevity. Because during sleep, like that's the chance your cardiovascular system, your heart system has a chance to kind of chill and rest and repair. And those blood vessels, like I said, they kind of relax a bit. Your blood pressure goes down 10 to 20%. Your heart rate also goes down 10 to 20%. But if you're not sleeping well, it doesn't really do that. You lose that predictable decrease that's healthy. And the converse happens. Your blood vessels stiffen up instead of relax. And when that happens, your risk of heart disease, heart attack, stroke, all the blood vessel things, kidney damage, it all goes up. In fact, just a year ago, 2024, the European Heart Journal, they looked at men getting 7 to 8 hours versus those that were getting less than 7 hours, and they had a 20% just in that 1 hour between 6 and 7 hours. You get 7 or more hours, they had an over 20% lower risk of cardiovascular events and disease, and that was independent of any exercise or diet or anything else. Just the sleep, and that's European Heart Journal, like big data, big story kind of stuff. And so I'll share with you briefly. I was working with a guy named Mike, and well, that's not his real name, but we'll just call him Mike. He's 58 years old, and he had high blood pressure. He was also overweight, and he's like, my my blood pressure meds seem to keep going up. My provider was just putting me on higher and higher doses. We've never talked about anything else. He said, "Oh, it's just something I got to live with, something I was born with, something that runs in my family." And I said, "Well, what else is going on? What's your nutrition, your diet? How about your sleep? Like sleep is critical. Like what's going on with your sleep? Just give me, what that looks like on an average night, on a weekday night and a weekend night. What does that look like?" And he's like, "Honestly, at best, I'm getting maybe 6 hours. I wake up every morning at 3 to 4 a.m. I just have trouble. I can't get back to sleep." And so we talked about where he was sleeping and what the deal was. When I was meeting with him at first, it was in the summertime, and it was hot. He didn't sleep in a really cool environment. And so we kind of adjusted that. We got him a couple of fans and things. And I think we even, because he didn't have an air conditioner at that time, because, a lot of people in Hawaii don't have air conditioners. It's pretty normal. We just open the windows, turn the fans on. So we just got him one of those, window units, cooled it down to about 65, 68, and got blackout curtains. He was drinking caffeine like into the afternoon and stuff. So we cut the caffeine after about 2 p.m. and got him in just a regular rhythm. Like he got his routine down, and within for him, it was about 3 months' time, I think 10 to 12 weeks, his heart rate came down at night by over 10 beats per minute. His blood pressure got down to 118 over 70s, and his inflammation markers, like the highly sensitive CRP, went way down. Like his was up above 5, and we got it below 2. Like it was crazy how quickly this happened, and it happened with optimizing his sleep. So for him, and one of the things that you should also consider is the caffeine thing. Like if you're a coffee drinker, you like energy drinks or this or that, like don't have any caffeine after, I would say lunchtime, like noon-ish, like 2 p.m. would be sort of the absolute latest. But no caffeine after that. If you got to have some coffee with your dinner or whatever, they always offer you that crap at the restaurant. Always please do decaf if anything at all. Maybe do a mellow tea, a chamomile tea or something. Get your bedroom cool. Get it dark, get it cool. Like the cave in my book, I talk about making it like a cave. You want it cool, you want it dark, you want it quiet, right? So if you got to get earplugs, you got to get eye shades, you got to get an AC or a fan or whatever that looks like get it cool, dark, quiet. You can even get one of these cooling mattresses, like 8 Sleep, for example, has a cool one, and just aim for consistency. You do that, get that environment like the cave. The cave environment for sleep is powerful. For me, it's been a game changer. Like in Hawaii, I wasn't sleeping well, especially in the summer. So we got one of the room. We literally just put it in the window. It's one of the things that we just use part of the year, and it's a ductless system. You just pop it in and use it those months that you need it, and then the winters there we don't. I mean, it's like in the 60s at night over there. It's great, but in the summers, like gotta have it, gotta have it. So cool, dark, cold, and quiet. Make sure your bedroom is like that. It's like the cave. You're on a regular, consistent schedule. And for him, this was a game changer. And I think it can be for you too. So don't forget about those simple things of the environment of sleep. The environment is powerful. All right. One of my other favorite things, we'll just call this the overall sleep architecture, is that sleep is not a passive process. It's actually very active. Like you program this, plan it out, and then so many beautiful things will happen during your sleep. But you have to have proactively plan for this, right? I talked about this just in the last section when we shared about getting your room cool, dark, and quiet. That's super important, having a routine. In fact, there was a 2025 study in sleep medicine that looked at morning light exposure and bedtime deep sleep and cortisol levels. And the cool thing is they found that just getting out for that morning light, like I've shared about a couple of times already in this podcast, and I love to talk about, get out that morning light, like within 30 minutes or so of awakening, just get outside for a few minutes, whatever that looks like even if it's cold outside. We got weather in the teens coming up next week, and I love that time each and every morning. We're getting out there where it's crazy. Like the days are shorter, so it's not even that hard. We usually leave for a little 10, 15, 20-minute walk at 10 to 7. And so that's not even that early, right? I mean, we're up at 6 or so, sometimes before that, but up by 6, and we're out walking by about 6:45. And it's like on the cusp where it's getting a little light, and then that next 10, 15 minutes, like it's amazing. The light starts to hit the mountain peaks. It's so beautiful. Like I can't believe I was missing that when I wasn't getting out there. Like I didn't love to be outside in the cold every morning, but we've been doing that for the last few months and it's been a game changer. And this study that was in the 2025 Sleep Medicine showed that getting out there in the morning light and having a consistent bedtime improved your deep sleep by over 20%. In fact, in this study, it was between 22 and 25%. And it also reduced your nighttime cortisol by as much as 30%, right? That's your stress hormone. That's simple. Get out in the morning light. That trigger is more powerful than anything. In fact, there was another study that came out. I can't recall. I was reading it a few weeks ago, but it was looking at just getting out in morning light. That and that alone was more predictive of metabolic health than any other thing. Like, who knew? In fact, they were saying that so-called metabolic syndrome, they should rename that, right? You know, the syndrome that so many people have in the US where they're borderline diabetic, their cholesterol panels aren't great, their energy is low, their insulin sensitivity is not that good, their fasting insulin is elevated, like 15 or 20 or whatever. And they were sharing that getting out in the morning light and getting your circadian rhythm, right? The day night cycle. We are diurnal creatures. We're supposed to be out in the day and sharp and bright eyed, bushy tailed. And when we get out into the morning light, that one thing was more predictive of metabolic health than anything. And that's free. Like, just get outside. So there was a gal I worked with, we'll just call her Laura, 44 years old, mother of two. She was a gym addict. Like, she was always going to the gym. She would drop her kids off at school and then she would go to the gym, which was awesome. I was stoked for her. I'm like, that is amazing. But she didn't give any attention to her sleep. She had no sleep hygiene, right? She just went to bed whenever. She was on her screens until the moment her head hit the pillow. And so for her, we called it the 8-3-2-1-0 formula. And the 8 is no caffeine within 8 hours of bedtime. Like, just don't do it. And that was tough for her because she just believed that she wouldn't have the energy. But as she was getting out into the morning light and she was sleeping better, she didn't need that caffeine anymore. We also, so that 8 is no caffeine, 8 hours. The 3 is no food, 3 hours before bed, right? 2 ideally would be no heavy exercise 2 hours before bed or screen time if you're able to do that. No screen time 2 hours before bed. For the 1 hour before bed, that's your wind down ritual. That's that ritual that maybe you had with your children or that you've seen used with kids. You need yourself that ritual, not that one, but one for yourself that you specifically create and curate for yourself and your needs, a chill cool down ritual where you have an hour with no screens, an hour with either red lights or less lights, dimmer lights, where you can just chill, write in a gratitude journal. You can listen to your favorite music that's calming, that's relaxing. You can do meditation. You can do gratitude. You can sit in a warm tub, whatever that looks like for you. But 1 hour before bed, that's the 1 hour before bed. And then at zero, boom, you're snoozing, you're asleep. Your head hits the pillow and you are off in la la land. You're getting REM sleep, deep sleep, all the things. And so we did this with her. We just focused on the 8-3-2-1, 8 hours no caffeine, 3 hours no food, 2 hours no heavy work or heavy exercise, 1 hour no screens at all. Have that calming 1 hour ritual before bed. And her sleep improved dramatically. Her daytime energy was way up. It was crazy. She's like, oh my gosh, like, I love to go to the gym every day, but this has been a game changer for me. It has been a game changer. She had no idea that she could be more energized with something that was so available to her that she just wasn't paying attention to, right? What you don't know, you don't know. That this is what I did for at least 2 decades of my life. I didn't pay attention to sleep. So here's your action plan for tonight. Track it. Track what time you go to bed, what time you wake up, how many times you woke up during the night. Do this for 1 week and just kind of see where you're at. Get kind of a base and see, are you going to bed about the same time every night? How many hours are you sleeping? How many times are you getting up through the night? You know, all those sorts of things. What's your energy like? Start tracking it. And if you have one of those cool smartwatches, like if you're on YouTube, I just got a simple Apple Watch and it can track that stuff. It tells me how many deep sleep hours I've gotten, how much REM sleep, how many times I woke up, all that kind of stuff, and how many hours I was asleep total. Like, it's so cool. And it tells me my heart rate variability, which is a great indicator of your overall stress and your ability to recover, recuperate, regenerate. So start tracking it. Take a look at that and then make sure you're doing the simple things that we're talking about so far. In this, the most powerful sleep training that you can do and do so simply and easily and for free. All right. This is one of my favorite parts here because this is the one people have so many questions about. And you may be surprised. I'm going to tell you something that may kind of rock your world. When we think about sleep, the first thing people ask me about is what supplement can I take? What's going to help? Is it magnesium? Is it melatonin? Is it glycine? Is it ashwagandha? Is it what the heck is it? A cherry, what is it? And honestly, all of these things are great. Like I love, love, love to optimize my health through supplements. But you got to remember, first and foremost, supplements are supplemental. They're to fine tune things, they're to tweak things. They're not the foundation. Yes, they can be supportive, but they're not where I usually start. In fact, Peter Attia, a colleague of mine, what he often says is, you got to fix your light, right? The circadian rhythm cycle that we talked about. Get out there in the morning light. Get those screens off at least an hour before bed. Fix your light, fix your rhythm, fix your diet first. Supplements, he says, are the last 5%. So don't overemphasize supplements. Yes, they will be helpful, but make sure you're doing all the other stuff, the simple stuff, the free stuff, right? Supplements cost money, and I'm all about optimizing the bang for your buck, if you will. And although we have thousands of supplement options, I like to start with the most basic five or six that are literally the game changers for overall health. One of them does include one of my favorite ones for sleep. That's magnesium. Magnesium is key, critical, powerful, useful, not only for sleep, but for overall energy. Most of us are functionally deficient in magnesium. There's an article in American Family Physician just within the last couple of years that said that about 70% of folks here in the developed world, the US, Canada, etc., are deficient in the functionality of magnesium. We're not taking enough in our diet. And if we did, not only would we have more energy because magnesium is a necessary cofactor, it's required for the production of ATP, that energy currency of the cell, but it is key, critical, and really imperative for a great night's sleep. And so that's magnesium. My favorite is either threonate or glycinate. There's other supplements that I love like glycine, theanine, tart cherry. These all have solid data. Melatonin has some utility. There's some things to be, concerned about with that. You don't want to be overdoing it. You don't want to be sort of, I hate to say addicted or hooked or dependent upon it. I definitely bring it with me when I'm traveling because it has some amazing benefits. Um, but there's a Frontiers in Sleep study that linked very, very high doses of melatonin to some messed up, altered REM patterns. There was such a rapid eye movement sleep, and that's kind of your dreams, right? And that's a fun part of sleep because if you're getting to be able to dream, you're at least getting into that deeper stages of sleep. When you start to dream, then you kind of wake up a bit, your brain's active, but it's actually doing a lot with memories and consolidating things. So it's pretty cool stuff. So I'll just share quickly about a dude I worked with. We'll just call him Chris for the purposes of this. He was a super high performing guy. I mean, executive at his business, working really hard. He was obviously an overachiever, right? So he was doing like I did for decades and just undervaluing sleep. He was averaging about 6 hours a night. He was waking up in the middle of the night, usually between like 2 and 3 a.m. He'd wake up. And he's 49 years old, so maybe he had a little bit of enlarged prostate kind of stuff. But we got him on a very simple regimen, magnesium threonate every night. For him, we were doing 2 grams. That's a good kind of middle of the road dose. And also glycine, we were doing about 3 grams of that. So just glycine and magnesium threonate. And we got him on a very strict, if you will, regimen, like same bedtime every night and 7 hours minimum in the cot. And within 3 weeks, like he was hardly waking up at all at night. His sleep was much deeper. He was wearing one of these watches and he said, oh my gosh, my sleep scores, they're above 90 every night through the roof, recovery. It was amazing. He was getting like 50s and 60s before in the best case scenario. Now he's up to 90s because he was prioritizing his sleep. He put it in a regular, he literally had to put it in his schedule. Like after boop, this hour, 9 p.m., we're having the chill time. I'm in bed and asleep by 10. I'm not getting up before 6. Like he had 8 hours blocked off and he was sleeping most of it. He was sleeping. His watch was telling him he was like 7.5 hours on average, which was an hour and a half more than he was getting before. And that magnesium threonate was helping. The glycine was helping. The HRV was getting way better. His stress levels went way down. His morning alertness was through the roof. Like this was simple. It was just 2 simple things that he was adding to basically a regular regimen of same time every night, the 8-3-2-1-0 routine we just talked about. And we added magnesium and glycine in his case. And that was powerful and game changing. All right, so here's the deal. What does your nightly ritual look like? What should that look like? What's sort of the best way to optimize it? We'll talk about here, kind of to put it all together and wrap it all up and put a little bow on it and make it real tight and simple. We'll just call it the nightly ritual. What could be your optimization protocol? Because sleep is that powerful. That single most predictive thing for your metabolic health is actually your sleep. It's not your diet. Like, I bet that's the first time you've ever heard that. And I shared two articles within the last year that have talked about this. Like, holy moly, who thought that sleep could be that powerful? Maybe just Matthew Walker, right? He's the sleep guy. And of course, he would say it's powerful, but a lot of us have been undermining or just under emphasizing sleep. Even myself, although the last decade I've been emphasizing it because I've noticed it is that powerful and that illuminating as far as your energy, your brain health, all the things. So here's the routine. We'll call it the 8-3-2-1-0. Blast off. Let's go. So, eight, we talked about that. No caffeine within 8 hours of bedtime. Simple. Done. 3 hours, the 8-3-2-1. 3 hours before bed, no food. Like if you can make this even a little bit more, 4 hours or so, even better. But minimum 3 hours. Why? Because when you eat, it's a very, very active process that'll wake you up. You may get tired right after the big meal, like maybe if it's Thanksgiving coming up, oh my gosh, I feel tired, oh, no energy. What we call them Hawaii, the Polynesian paralysis sets in after a big meal. But what happens is all the blood flow rushes to the stomach to metabolize that food and it wakes you up. So you might fall asleep, but you'll wake up. Like it'll have a disrupted um, sleep if you're eating close to bedtime. And I notice that occasionally, not that often, we'll have a late meal on a date night or something. Or gosh, last week we were in Mexico with Tony Robbins, and that guy's sleep schedule is messed up. Like they were serving dinner. Like the earliest dinners were like at midnight. We had one dinner was served, I think, at 2 a.m. Like, what the heck? Like, that guy's sleep is messed up as far as his routine and ritual. Maybe it works for him, but I would say for most of us, probably not the most ideal routine. And so I noticed that when I did eat that meal late into the night, or early morning, I should say, I didn't sleep awesome. Like I was waking up with like the hangover headache, right? And there was no alcohol there. And that's not my normal routine, but like that was, we were on that schedule. Like the seminar went from 5 p.m. until 2 a.m. Like that was the deal. Like that's just how he rolls, you know? And I was reminded of how powerful that business about not eating before 3 hours before bed, how important that is. And that's what I always do when I'm back at home. I mean, we're ready to eat dinner sometime between 5 and 6. And this time of year, it's so easy, right? It's dark at 5 o'clock anyway. Everybody's in, we're indoors. We have the meal, and still we usually do a little quick dance party after, or I go for a walk even in the dark after dinner because I just understand the importance of that 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so after meals for your metabolism, for your blood sugar regulation. Like getting some movement in is key critical. But 8 hours before bed, no caffeine. 3 hours before bed, no eating. 2 hours before bed, no heavy workouts or heavy work. Like kind of get into the chill zone. If you can get off screens 2 hours before bed, like holy moly, you are better than I. I struggle with that, but I do 1 hour before bed. I'm off the screens. Like that's kind of my minimum. We're chilling as family. We're in the hot tub. I get in the hot tub with my boys. That's our kind of male bonding chit chat time. We actually have a red light out there in the hot tub. It's pretty fun. We're just chilling. Just maybe we're listening to music. Maybe we're not. We're just chatting about the day and about the future, about their dreams and goals. Like it's just a super fun bonding time. Like I'm kind of embarrassed to admit sometimes we'll be crying out there. Like, what the heck? Like, it's okay, right? We're dudes, but like, you can cry. You can cry once in a while. Heck, at this event last week with Tony and with my wife and focusing on our relationship, I was crying every single day, crying tears of joy, crying tears of feeling. Like, it was cool. Like, it was amazing. It was amazing. But 2 hours before bed, no heavy work, no heavy exercise, and also if you can tune down the screens. But for sure, that 1 hour, this is the critical 1 hour before bed, just definitely get those screens off and have your ritual. Whatever your ritual looks like, your wind down. For me, it's usually getting in the hot tub and just chilling with my family. It might be a gratitude journal, it might be a combination of both. It might be verbal gratitude that's expressed as we sit and chill together in the hot tub. Whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's reading a book with the red lamp on. But chill time 1 hour before bed, that's your ritual, your wind down ritual. This should be non-negotiable. Just like if you have young kids, you know that's non-negotiable. Like you have to have that ritual. That's what gets them kind of settled, gets their energy where it needs to be and ready to go to sleep. You give them that grace. Give yourself now that grace. And the zero is kind of a fun one. The zero is zero snooze in the morning. You don't hit that snooze because you won't need to anymore. You're going to be refreshed, rejuvenated, energized, ready to go when you get up in the morning because you got a great quality night's sleep that started with that first light during the day. So when when you first get up, remember, get out into that morning light 5 to 10 minutes, which in the first half hour of awakening, make sure you're hydrating upon awakening. Usually I do about 16 ounces of water with some salt in there. I do a little gratitude reflection. There's this whole priming process. If you want to Google it, Tony Robbins priming, and really all it is it's gratitude. It's gratitude, and after the gratitude, you're thinking about your future and your top couple of things that you want to accomplish during the day. And it doesn't have to take a long time. I think if you do his, it's about 15 minutes. It's a priming routine, takes about 15 minutes. I did his for a while. I kind of do my own now. I just like to have some chill time, close my eyes, hand over my heart. Always starts with gratitude. If you're being grateful, like you can't be mad, you can't be stressed, you can't be agitated, anxious. Gratitude puts you into that total zen. I would highly recommend it. And your body will thank you. I promise. You will be thanked from your your muscles to your memory, brain, focus, acuity. Your hormones will thank you. Your immune system will thank you. Your recovery. Oh my gosh. So 8, 3, 2, 1. That's the action plan I want you all to be taking. Implement. You don't have to do all of it this week, but choose at least one thing per week to focus on. 8 hours before bed, no caffeine. 3 hours, no food. 2 hours, get off the heavy work, heavy workout, all that kind of stuff. 1 hour, definitely get into that wind down ritual for you. No screens. Zero snooze because you won't need it anymore. Start tracking that and track your alertness and see how it goes. And if you want to go deeper, you want to get super finely tuned, you want to be optimizing the right hormones, the right patterns, the right workout. Like I would be honored to be your guide in this process. Like I love this process. I am getting to be, honestly, like the sleep specialist because that's been my Achilles heel. So I've been hyper focusing on that. And I've helped so many clients. I shared a couple of stories with you just in this last little bit we've been together, and they've each been so powerful. So if you want to go deeper, you want to get into that restful, rejuvenative, recovery state that is your sleep, and you want to get there and you want to have that power, I'd be honored to work with you. Feel free to reach out. You can just go to my website, thomashemingway.com, click on the link to schedule a call, give me a little bit of details about yourself, or reach out to me on Instagram, Dr. Thomas Hemingway. I would love to see you there. Make sure you're sharing this out. Like these tips have been a game changer, not only for me, but for many, many, many folks I've worked with. And remember, at the end of the day, you can't wait to sleep until you're dead. And sleep isn't lazy. It's not lazy. I used to have that in my head, like, oh my gosh, I can't sleep because I got so many things I got to do. I got to be so productive. I can't miss any extra time. Here's the thing I want you to go away with. Sleep is not lazy. It's literally your most productive work. As you focus on improving your sleep, everything else will change. It's that simple. It's that powerful. And as you learned today, for probably the first time ever, and we have the data to prove it, the last couple of years, there have been a couple of articles that have shown how literally your sleep is the most predictive of your metabolic health, of your cardiovascular health, your longevity, like your insulin sensitivity. Like all of these things are predictive based upon one thing, the quality of your sleep. So keep it simple, the 8, 3, 2, 1, 0 rule. Make sure you have a rhythm, a routine. It's got to be something that you can reproduce each and every night, that wind down ritual. It is calming, it is relaxing, it is refreshing and rejuvenating, and it'll get you in to your highest level sleep. But don't forget to get up in the morning, get out into the morning light. Like that one simple thing for me has been one of the most powerful game changers. My wife and I this year, 80, wherever it is in the world, we get out there, get into the morning light. And remember, sleep is not lazy. It could be the most productive thing you do. Let's end the year right and powerfully, get the year awaken When we awaken your dreams, conquer the world, do whatever it is you want to do to make your impact felt so that you can share your gift with the world. If you'd love to join us in San Diego, January 23rd and 24th are the main stage days. We'd love to be with you. AlignEventsLive.com, Dr. Thomas Hemingway. I would love to see you there. Thank you for being here, part of the show. Make sure you're sharing this out and that you sleep well. And remember, it ain't lazy. It's the most productive thing you'll do. Until next time, a big aloha.